Hello, I'm very tired. Let's talk about some books. Hey everybody, I am Maya. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, welcome back. If you are returning, today I'm going to do kind of the classic booktube thing where if you like this book, maybe you'll like this one, or maybe you'll hate it and then you'll be mad at me, but I hope you like it. The first two books I am going to pair are Normal People and Fences. Normal People by Sally Rooney. Fences is a play by August Wilson. On the surface, they seem very different, except for the fact that they both have green covers. Hear me out though. Normal People is about relationships. Fences is about family dynamics. Normal People deals with classism. Fences deals with classism and racism. Both have a setting that means a lot. Fences takes place only in one setting, and it's on, I think it's the back porch, although it might be the front porch of the family home, while Normal People takes place in a small town in Ireland, as well as at the University of Trinity. By golly, have you seen that university's library? It is stellar. Anyway, Normal People pretty much follows the relationship between our two main characters, Connell and Marianne. They both are struggling in their own individual ways. They're both incredibly flawed, but they find a sense of security in their relationship. Fences is about a black family in the 20th century. Troy is the father, and he's like the main provider for the family, but he had a lot of dreams involving baseball that weren't fulfilled. He's pretty bitter about it. He has kind of a taut relationship with his wife and his son. It's just a really powerful read, and the play itself is incredible. You should watch the movie. Denzel Washington, Viola Davis, you get the picture.
It's not easy for me to admit that I've been standing in the same place for 18 years.
Well, I've been standing with you. I've been right here with you, Troy. I got a life too. I gave 18 years of my life to stand in the same spot as you. Don't you think I ever wanted other things? Don't you think I had dreams and hopes? What about my life? What about me? But I held on to you, Troy. I took all my feelings, my wants and needs and dreams, and I buried them inside you. I planted a seed and watched it prayed over. I planted myself inside you and waited to bloom. It didn't take me no 18 years to realize the soil was hard and rocky and it was never gonna bloom.
So yeah, these sound different, but they have similar writing styles actually, although one is a play and one is a literary literary fiction. Sally Rooney is very blunt in her writing in describing what is going on where, because the focus is really on the characters. It doesn't matter where you are, it just matters that the background exists so that the characters can become three-dimensional to the audience. Fences is written as a script, so it's also quite sparse in its descriptions and really allows its characters to shine forward. So if you're really interested in character-focused stories that make some social commentary, I would definitely recommend those two. If you liked The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George, you should read The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. Again, seemingly very different, but not, because they're both examinations of grief in different ways. The Little Paris Bookshop follows our main character, Jean Perdu, who is trying to overcome his grief for a past love. To do so, he decides he's going to travel across Paris in his boat that is also a bookshop, so that's fun. The Vanishing Half really focuses heavily on two African American sisters, both of which are white passing. One sister ends up marrying a very dark-skinned African-American man, and the other sister decides that she wants to live her life as a white woman. This story I also feel has a lot to do with grief, actually on both sides. For one, the sisters are twins, so imagine losing a part of yourself because of societal divides. The sister who decides to live her life as a white woman has grief because she's so disconnected from her family and her community, and she just feels a lot of guilt that she's not living her truth. The other sister feels grief because her sister's gone. She's been looking for her for decades and cannot find her. Then, of course, the story shifts focus to the sisters' daughters who connect in New York City, among other places. LA is where they connect. If you're interested in that sort of dynamic, I would check out these two. We've got Jurassic Park and Into the Drowning Deep. Jurassic Park, pretty familiar with dinosaurs. Into the Drowning Deep, I actually finished today. I really liked it. It took me super long to read because it was science-y, and I loved that about it. That was actually my favorite part. but it was really sciencey. Essentially, Into the Drowning Deep is about sirens that eat people and are very brutal, and it's about the interaction between the two species because this company ships out a boat full of scientists and people to figure out what is going on in the Challenger Deep. Both are sci-fi, both have a little bit of thrill in them, both have actually really good representation specifically for the times that they were written in. Jurassic Park was kind of, I could be totally wrong here, please correct me if I am, but to my knowledge, it was the first book with a named female adult character who was a scientist and was really incredible in her own field. I am talking about Ellie here. She studies plants from the Jurassic era time period. Into the Drowning Deep had LGBTQ rep without it being a plot point. It was just a part of the characters. They had twins that were deaf and were incredible biochemists. They also had a lot of familial connection, which was really awesome. I loved both of these. I think you should check them out. If you liked The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta, I would recommend you read Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Poet X, I actually have kind of a fun story for, so that was my school's book of the year. The school-wide read. I'm not sure how many people read it, but hopefully not just me. Actually, no, it wasn't just me. Thanks, Austin. You read it. I know that for sure. But essentially, the whole school was invited to read the book. We all got hard copies for free, which was pretty amazing. And then literally the month after quarantine started, we were supposed to have a presentation delivered by Elizabeth Acevedo, which would have been amazing. The reason I think these two go together super well is because they're both about identity, coming of age, and they're written in verse. But I actually enjoyed both of these books despite the fact that I didn't love the format. The characters were incredibly rich and deep and complex, and I loved that about them. They both had their individual struggles. They had supportive family members. They had family members that weren't so supportive. They had dreams and ambition and goals, and if you're into that, you would love these. Black Flamingo is about a character named Michael who ends up finding refuge in the drag community, while the main character in Poet X is having a reckoning with her family and her religious beliefs and how that impacts the way she leads her life. Next, Lovely War and Before We Were Yours, both historical fiction. Have to have some historical fiction. I love historical fiction. Lovely War is told from the perspective of two Greek goddesses, and it does jump time periods a little bit because of that. Similarly, Before We Were Yours jumps time periods from present day to the original time of like when the Tennessee Children's Home Society was fully fledged. Lovely War is a World War historical fiction that focuses on the relationships between the characters and how those relationships provide security and solidity in a time riddled with sporadic stuff. Wow, I was doing so good there. I sounded so eloquent. And then sporadic stuff. While Before We Were Yours focuses on America, the Mississippi River, and the Tennessee Children's Home Society, which essentially kidnapped children to sell them into adoption, even if they had fully functioning families already. Both did, of course, provide social commentary. I loved the characters in both. The romances in both were so cute, so cute. My grandma loved them. My grandma loved these books. Next, we have a threesome, Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky, Room by Emma Donough, and Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. All horrors. Imaginary Friend is, in fact, about an imaginary friend. There's actually a lot of religious allegory in this book, which I thoroughly enjoyed, despite the fact that I am an atheist. I found it really accessible and actually integral to the plot, which was really fascinating for me. I also loved the characters in Imaginary Friend, probably one of my favorite books of 2020 so far. A similarity between Room and Imaginary Friend is they're both horror stories told from the perspective primarily of a child. In Room, a 5-year-old is telling this story, and essentially he and his mother live in a single solitary room. He's never been outside, doesn't even know outside exists, and the book really unearths what happened to him, what happened to his mom, how they got here, and where they go from their current position. I put Sharp Objects in here because there's also like an aspect of children, although it is children being murdered. Hear me out. Sharp Objects terrified me. I could not stop thinking about it after I finished it. I loved the writing style. The main character was incredibly flawed, but I really enjoyed reading the story from her perspective, and it really messed you up. Like, it's not gory per se, but it's very twisted in the same way that I feel Imaginary Friend and Room are. Thus, I grouped them together. If you are feeling spooky, I know Olivia Reads a Latte is hosting Summerween this week as you're watching this. So if you need some scary books, there you go. To all the boys I've loved before, and Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. Ahaha, I tricked you. I've been grouping things by genre. These are not the same genre whatsoever. Why did I put these two together? Because Eleanor Oliphant is not a romance no matter what Goodreads says. It is a platonic friendship. I put these two together because both of the main characters have had emotional trauma in their past. I don't want to talk about Eleanor Oliphant's because that's an integral part of the plot, but Laura Jean, you know from the beginning that her mother passed away when she was very young, and this trauma has affected both of their lives significantly. The reason I put these two together is really because they both had really cozy vibes. They're both about a character going out of her comfort zone, Laura Jean by dating someone and really throwing herself into the social scene at her school. Eleanor Oliphant by deciding that, you know what, solitary living isn't for me and I need to make friends and go out into the world and experience things. Because both characters came out of their shells in these books, and those shells often contained fragments of trauma, I think that you would like them if you read one of them and you're looking for a new read. Also, both the main characters are just totally charming and I loved them to death. I really do. I identify with Laura Jean so much, you have no idea. I really wanted to have 10 pairings just to make it real clean and tidy. I only have 9, so our last one is Anne of Green Gables and A Hidden Life of Trees. The Hidden Life of Trees. Anne of Green Gables follows a vivacious, feisty young girl named Anne and kind of the influence she has over her town, the adventures she goes on, the friendship she makes. It's really wholesome and I really love it to death. My favorite book of all time. The Hidden Life of Trees, on the other hand, I hate it. I really hated it. Because I don't know. There's a certain amount of anthropomorphization. There was a certain amount of personification. Let's just go with that. That's an easier form of Despite the fact that I did not like how much trees were personified, I really did enjoy the content and the intent behind this book, which is to make you appreciate nature. Anne of Green Gables is nothing if not a book Mary Oliver would have adored. Although it is about Anne, it's also about where she lives, which is Green Gables, which is on Prince Edward Island in Canada, which is an incredibly beautiful place if you've ever been there. I haven't, but I went on Google Earth the other day and it's pretty pretty. Anne places a heavy emphasis on naming places in her town after just these gorgeously magical names. She has Violet Vale. She calls the tree outside her window, I think it's a crabapple tree, she calls it the Snow Queen.
Let me see. The Lake of Shining Waters. Yes, that's the right name for it. I know because of the thrill. Do things ever give you a thrill?
Everything is just so magical in nature, and nature is such a big part of Anne's personality. I already love nature. I love the earth. Climate change is bad. But this book really made me empathize with trees a lot and feel really connected to nature. And it's one I think you would really love if you enjoy the aspects of Anne of Green Gables that also involve nature. As I said, number 10 is empty. I'm sorry. I tried so hard, but I just couldn't do it today. I just couldn't. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Got a few recommendations. Hope you all are doing pretty darn good, and I will see you on Thursday for another video. Until then, stay well and bye.